The desires of all parents are right. We all want our children to be happy, fulfilled, virtuous men and women that are loving Christ and on their way to heaven. But the end objective is not being achieved. So, something in the process of formation is not being done that should be done. Something's missing. Can you name it?
Facebook.
Because if you can't name it, how do you know you're not falling in the same trap as everybody else? So, the talk today is missing something. What is the missing something? To describe this, first we have to kind of, I can read your minds right now. You're probably saying, my children won't grow up to be bad. That only happens to other children, not mine. Well, let me describe what happens to kids that are really from good families and are really trying. First example, nothing, even in a perfect formative environment, nothing is guaranteed. Case in point, 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago, you had Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Perfect. Absolute perfection itself. Descended from heaven. He comes onto this earth, and he chooses 12 men to follow him. You have the best formator. You have perfect wisdom guiding them. And for 3 years, you have the best seminary that will ever exist in all of time. So if anybody was the best formator that would ever exist, it's God. God himself. And in that perfect formative environment, what happened? You still have to live. And they all ran away on the rock in the Garden of Gethsemane. But Jesus Christ had one that betrayed him. And we can't blame him as a parent, as the formator. It wasn't his fault. And so in a perfect formative environment, you still don't have guarantees because why? You're dealing with the mystery of human freedom. The mystery we all go through. Because look at our own lives. Haven't we all made stupid mistakes? When we've known full well what God wants us to do and we turn our back on God, we sin. And later on we say that was dumb. And so you have to understand that as parents, you can never assume that everything's just fine. You always have to be paying attention and praying a lot. Now the other thing that happens is, how would you like to be parents of Judas? The parents of Judas wanted all those things that we voted for in the beginning. And Judas was a good guy. He gave his life to follow Christ. But something happened. But also you have what I call the hollow chocolate Easter bunny syndrome. You ever get one of those hollow chocolate Easter bunnies? So it's an Easter basket, and it's, you're looking at that thing, it's going to be awesome, and you rip off the paper and you bite into it, and what's inside? Stale. And that's sometimes what can happen to kids from a really good environment. Catholic schools. Really good school places. Because sometimes everything on the outside is perfect. It looks substantial. It's the right mold. It's filled in just the right way. It looks perfect. But on the inside, it's hollow. This is the great danger because what happens in Catholic schools is we mistake knowledge up here of the faith for a real relationship down here. And you can have the Bible memorized, the whole catechism memorized. It does not mean you have a relationship so that's what we always have to be paying attention to. Because time and time and time again, you have parents that come up to me and say, Father, I don't know what happened. And little Johnny, who was a great kid in grade school and in high school, then he went off to college. I don't know what happened. That happened. It's hollow. Now the great thing is, God is bigger than all this, and He can fill it in really quickly. We got to look hard to see the inside of the building. And then also, sometimes you have what I call the nice guy syndrome. Oh, by the way, let me tell you a little story about this just happened. We talked about college how we used to run. You know, I do confirmation all the time. Confirmation classes about 9 different parishes. And I was down in Half Bay at a lady pillar, and I was doing confirmation mass. It was mass for not the actual confirmation, but in the cycle of classes. And Brother Christopher and the missionaries, they had gone to mass, so they were outside the church waiting for mass to be over. And they saw a kid that was in confirmation class last year. And they're like, hey, they knew his name, and they said, hey, what? Did you go to mass today? He said, oh, no. So where you go right now? And he said, oh, no, I'm done with that. I did my confirmation. That's hollow chocolate confirmation money. And it's not that he didn't hear the right stuff. I was teaching him. I told him. And I told him very clearly. But you have this mystery of human freedom. It's not just saying it once and then suddenly it's just assimilated. Look at ourselves. Look at ourselves. Don't we struggle with the same sins over and over and over and over and over again? And it's not that we don't know what it is. It's we have a problem in our hearts. We have to love Christ more. It's a formation of the will, a motivation of the heart. And if we, adults, have issues, how much more difficult it is for kids? So we have to be patient, but also pushing ourselves. But the other thing is this nice guy syndrome where, the nice guy syndrome is problem with mediocrity. Sometimes you might have a kid that has out all up here, and maybe they're doing good. Maybe they're not sinning. Maybe they go to college and they don't go to parties. They don't do drugs. They do well. But are they doing good for the kingdom? Or are they just being nice? Because God wants a lot more than us just being nice. He wants us to be saints, to be apostles that transform the world. That's what He wants of us. And so we can't settle with just mediocrity. Okay, fine. I got to pick up the tempo here because I'm going too slow. All right, but this next part, this part is so important. The first part. I'm just going to go through this a little bit. But all of you have to meditate on this a lot more. Because if you don't understand the battle, you're not going to have the urgency for the solution. You have to really understand what we're up against so that you really work hard. Characteristics of this battle. The mangle of materialism. Materialism is obscuring the meaning of life for so many people. They value their life according to what they have. And this is rapidly taking over our kids because of all the media that's out there. There was a survey that was done just 2 years ago that, you know how much time, between ages 11 and 18, right now, do you know what the average hours of media exposure is on a daily basis? Average. On a daily their vision, their mentality. It affects the way they deal with each other. So like, you have Facebook, you have all these friends. Are they really friends? Everything becomes very, very superficial. Attention spans become like 3 seconds long. And everything is so shallow. And you're always looking for this impulse of just sensationalism. That's what YouTube is. Just little, they're on the internet all the time looking at the next sensational thing. It's never enough. Materialism creeps in there and obscures their meaning. And there's so much more. You have, next one is silence of sin. I can talk like a week on this one. This is really, really, really good. My internship, I was in Chicago, and I was talking to a high school senior class. And it was at the Catholic high school. And I started off saying, so who can tell me what's the difference between mortal and venial sin? They had no idea. So I said, well, what is a sin? No idea. And it wasn't just that they were afraid to answer. They didn't know. They honestly didn't know. And when I said, like breaking the 10 Commandments, any recognition? No. Now that's not everyone. But that is a lot. And the greatest enemy that we face nowadays, you know what the greatest enemy that the Holy Father said the church faces today? Anybody know this? The greatest enemy the church faces today, according to Pope Benedict XVI. Bingo, the dictatorship of relativism. Relativism says there's no sin. Everything's fine. If it's okay for you, it's okay for me. It's fine. There's no objective right or wrong. There's no objective truth. It's all just relative to whether it's convenient for you. And this affects us. For me as a priest, when I'm preaching the homily, I notice when I start talking about sin and hitting some sensitive